Guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be making a tier list based around 2.7 patch. So yeah, before we get into the tier list in general, I wish you all a happy new year and hope we all win our 50-50s from now on, I guess. And generally, I have already placed every single 5-star and 4-star till patch 2.0. So, I don't want to drag the video too long. And if you guys have any question about why they are there, you guys can just go and check out my previous tier list that I made around a month ago. And the video link will be in the description. So you will know why they're in their respective tier list. But I will talk about the units, that went up or down the tier list and talk about them. Why? And this is a tier list for now. And the units that went up the tier list from my last tier list anyway is one of them being Jingyuan. Jingyuan in my former tier list was at A tier. Now it's S tier mainly because of the introduction of Sunday was a really good buff to him. His damage consistency and damage itself went up really well. I think Sunday was a huge buff for him, and in every single game mode at E0 S0, I think his performance did improve. And I think for that reason alone, I think he deserves to be at minimum S tier. I don't think it's S plus. I think his damage doesn't, it's not on the same level as the other DPS that are above him in my opinion. And now I'm going to talk about Kafka and why she's not on S tier, and in my opinion, why she's A tier now. I think Dot in general is not doing well in the current format, not even in any format. I think the only format like Dot is doing great is at Pure Fiction, and even then, they're not on the same level as the other paths, like follow up or break in my general. And Kafka's problem is she relies too much on Black Swan, and without Black Swan, I don't think she's even close to even A tier in my opinion. The only reason she's even A tier is because of Black Swan, and without a general Dot support, Dot is doing great, and I think she relies way too much on Black Swan. Even then, I think she's not in S tier, and you will know that when I talk about the other units. And now I'm gonna place the first DPS that we got on 2.0. If I believe it's Black Swan. Now Black Swan, even though she is the Dot, and even though Dot is doing a little bit bad, I think she's still S tier easy. I think she's really good. And the main reason again, like I said, she does do very well in pure fiction, but the best thing about Black Swan, you can actually use her more like a support for Akron teams, especially if you have Eidolons. I'm not going to talk about too much about Eidolons because I want to keep this tier list easier as zero, but I think she has a little bit more versatility comes to Kafka. And for the current moment, Black Swan has been a little bit more seen than in Kafka and does a little bit better. And I think she deserves to be in S tier. I think lower S tier, not the higher tiers. And in my personal play, I think I have seen more success with Black Swan than Kafka. So I'm gonna put Black Swan at S tier. And I want to quickly mention about Himeko a little bit. I think if you have a Himeka, you should build her, especially for Pure Fiction and in other game modes. For currently, they are doing good. I think Pure Fiction, especially on Super Break side, after Fuchs release, Himeko has been doing really well. I was thinking of putting her as plus, but I thought it's just too much because it's just gonna be. I think we all know when we go to 3.x patches, when we go to Ampharos, the meta can shift so fast, and I just didn't want to drag it. I think the main reason she's good in MOC and in Apocalypse Shadow is because of the Banana boss, that Banana Academy boss thingy. That boss is really good for AoE units, and Himiko, especially with Super Break setup, is really strong against it. And I was thinking of putting it S plus, but I restrained myself, and I think she deserved to be in S tier unit. Now, if I'm sure, is next DPS we got was Akron. Now Akron, we all know where Akron's going. I think she is still a top tier unit, even though it's been a long time since she dropped. I think she dropped in way back in 2.1, and I think she's still a top tier unit. She's not the best in my opinion, but she is good. Being able to have AoE DPSing ability, and if you have Zhao Shu, she's still one of the best DPS. And the good thing is she covers all the end games like Apocalypse Shadow, Pure Fiction, even in MOC, she's top tier. She's good in AoE. I think she struggles a little bit against single target, but you can cover the weakness with some units, and I think she deserves to be in S plus tier easily. And I think maybe if we get another debuffer, like a 5-star debuffer with a lot of debuffing ability, she might go up the tier list too. So she is pretty versatile, and you can also say she's a little bit future proof too. So yeah, keep that in mind. A really good DPS. And yeah. Now who did we got? The break DPS. I'm gonna put the break DPSs together, so I'm just gonna talk about the other DPS first, like Jade. Now Jade is a weird one. I think she is S tier, the minimum S tier. I'm not gonna say she's S plus or anything. And this is before Herda's release. So with Herda's release, we might see Jade going up, maybe her value going up a little bit. Now Jade, if you guys don't know, is a really solid support sub DPS. She's like Topaz, right? She's like Topaz for AoE units, I guess you could say. Really strong in pure fiction, easy top tier support DPS, whatever you can call her, sub DPS in pure fiction. Now in Apocalypse Shadow, even in MOC, we are seeing a lot of enemies that share health or have a lot of they're just dropping so many mobs where Jade's value gets higher, right? And this is Jade without the Herda releasing. So if you guys don't know Herda's mechanism, she gets buffed from having more erudition units. So it's like Akron technically, but for erudition, like she's like an erudition version of Akron. And I think for Herda, I think Jade will be the best support. So she might go up the tier list when I make it next time. But for now, I think she's solid S tier, one of the best supports of DPS for pure fiction, and even in other modes because of the AoE scenario, she's been doing really well. And maybe she should be on your radar for a rerun pick, or pick up to make your account even stronger if you're struggling in pure fiction mode, especially. A really good unit. And now Yunli. Yunli, for me, I think is a hit or miss just because of how the MOC or how the end game stacks. But I still think she is S tier minimum, and the main reason is simple. She has a lot of damage, and she's easy to build too because she has so much base crit damage in her kit. It's really good. Plus, I think she's really fun unit to play because you actually have to use your brains a little bit to play her or make her work, in my opinion. But like I said, if the enemy has low aggro or they don't attack and just self buff, usually it does fall off. But because she's also good in every single game mode, I think the worst game mode is probably Apocalypse Shadow because she is a counter-attacking DPS. So when the enemy does get broken, you are kind of losing a lot of DPS. But other modes she does really well, especially if the enemy has physical weakness, then they're kind of doomed. Because even without physical weakness, I have seen really good units doing really high damage. But I don't think she's on the same level as Akron because she's not consistent, right? Like you have to rely on enemy a lot because she is a counter-attacking unit. So she might fall off a little bit, but she is a really good first character. You can she's a really good first character if you want to pick. But I think there are better you know DPSs out there that almost use the same team as her. Like technically Yun Lee and Jing Yuan technically use the same team now. Like they almost use Robin, and probably some of them use Jing Yuan. I mean, what am I saying? Jing Yuan. I mean Sunday. But they're pretty good. She's good. She's good. Don't sleep on Yun Lee too. Now I want to get the Trinity, the holy Trinity of break DPS. Boot Hill. I'm gonna rank them soon. Okay, let me get them here first. I mean, okay, you're not going up anytime soon, Scylla. Rappa, and I think Firefly. I want to rank them together because they kind of use the same team. It's just one is slightly better at every endgame. You want to pull a DPS that goes into every endgame and does really well. And when it comes to that, I think Firefly's slightly better than these two in every single endgame. I think Rappa, we all know, pure fiction destroyer. Like pure fiction is like a piece of cake if you have Rappa at any side because it doesn't matter. She has a slight imaginary buff, and with Fugue, it's a piece of cake. And Apocalypse Shadow again, there is a lot of enemies that summon a lot, and they have high toughness bar, and Rappa does melt through. Even in MOC, she does good, especially against AoE scenario. But then why is she not god tier? In my opinion, I don't think she's that reliable as Firefly when it comes to implanting weakness. And even though Fugue does help her, it's not that high. And Rappa's biggest weakness is single target bosses. Like if the boss doesn't summon any structure or minions, so Rappa can get her trace up because that's our damage comes. That's where nuke comes in. Then Rappa will struggle and it's kind of sad, especially if you put her against a boss like Adventuring that doesn't summon anything and that also delays your action and stuff. It's like stalling bosses. Rappa struggles a lot and Rappa's not that good. And now Boothill is the opposite. Like Boothill is so good in the single target, and bosses that like to stall, he's really good, right? You just go full damage, you don't need to sustain, you just one shot them, right? But in pure fiction mode, even though there are some really good pure fiction Boothills, you need really high build, and most of the casual player base won't have that build. So, but in Apocalypse Shadow and MOC, I think Boot Hill, even without physical weakness, because of his implanting ability, he is strong. And now with Fugue able to get his trick shot in just one shot is actually huge and stuff. If you play right, he's still top tier. Now, why is Fugue? I think Firefly is better if you don't care about zero cycling. When it comes to zero cycle, I think Boot Hill and Rup are way better than Firefly generally because I don't think Firefly is like a zero cycle DPS. I don't consider it like and most of the casual player base, I don't think they care about zero second. They just want to clear the end game, without any difficulty, and they just want to get the rewards. In that case, Firefly is good. You're gonna get most of the end games currently at least 2 or 3 cycles with Firefly easily. I think 2 cycles that even 1 cycle. If you have a really good build, Firefly with Fugue and everything, you'll get one thing. And the main reason I put her on God tier, like last time I put her on S tier, S plus tier, I think, mainly because of her, skill point management is hard at E0 because E0 Firefly, burns through your skill points a lot because of HMC. But now after Fugue, Fugue just basic attack a lot. So you're not going to run into that same problem again. And with her and Lingsha on Pure Fiction, it also becomes a little bit easier. And she can actually mill through Pure Fiction too. So it's like she can cover every single end game, but you need to have the teammates around her to work. Indian Break is currently the strongest archetype in my opinion, followed by follow-up. So when you have full archetype completed, and you can also implant fire weakness for your other supports, like Lingsha. She's technically a DPS in herself, hidden. So it makes your life easier. And I think you can call her mid-fly and make fun of her. I think for a casual player base, she is still a really really strong DPS even though I won't recommend her as a zero cycle crazy DPS, she's still there. So don't make fun of Firefly mates. I guess for normal players, I think she's really good DPS, and I think she deserves to be god tier. Now, when it comes to Facia, I think we all know Facia. Like Facia is just straight up disgusting. I'm easily the best DPS currently, in my opinion, better than Firefly. Apocalypse Shadow is piece of cake against AoE. Now you need to know this MOC is kind of favoring AoE, and I think I have seen a lot of E0 phase outs that are just destroying even the banana boss. So it just shows how strong Phasia is, and her archetype is like follow up is really strong. On top of Phasia being really strong, if you build up Phasia properly, she's gonna pack a real punch. And of course, on the pure fiction side, she's supposed to struggle because she's the Hunt unit, supposed to struggle. But because of some cheesy teams like the four-star Herda and stuff existing, she can actually make really good advantage, especially with the grid. The new grid mechanics actually makes her better now because she can get so much turns, so much alls, and she can literally get so much turns for mini her. Like you can get a lot of points. Like in the end, you don't have to kill the main boss, you just need to kill a lot of minions to get a lot of points, right? So you can actually abuse this with Phasia and get a lot of points in pure fiction. Like I got a 39,000 first side clear on Beijao Dispatch, so I was pretty confident. That's why I'm putting her as the currently, in my opinion, the best DPS. And maybe you should think about getting her on the repool, but by that time we might get stronger DPSs like oh ഇന്നലത്തെ you might get stronger DPSs like the Herda or Agblea even. We don't know much about her, but I think the live stream is today, so we can get more info. But currently, in my opinion, Phasia is the strongest DPS. So yeah, that's my tier list. And if you watched it till the end, and if you found this video to your help, please consider leaving a like and subscribe and comment your thought, because I would like to know what you think. You need to remember this. I mostly based this tier list on E0 S0. I didn't consider like cones or even their idle ones. And yes, there could be some changes that get made. You could say Firefly should be S plus, but current format I think favors Firefly really well. Like I said, I don't care about zero cycle. I just want to be consistent and want to be easy. And for a casual player base, I think this is a pretty decent tier list. But if you think there should be any changes, please tell me. Like I said, I just want this video to be short. So if you want a full depth, version, I did made a video list around a month ago explaining about their situations, and yeah, you guys can check that video in the link. And again, this is the final look at the tier list. And yeah, so yep. And I will look into the live stream, and I want to see the banners which coming, and if I do see a 8 character banner coming next patch, I might cry in the corner because I'm currently broke on my game, and I had to save a lot of pulls. So I might actually make a video on which character you should pull on 3.0 soon. And yeah, that's it.